Okay, well, I'm here with Dan, and I'm just going to give him a nice informal interview about my project. It's an ethnographic representation of praise slash worship in Bethany Church. So, Dan, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? If you have any sort of church background, or tell us a wee bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm 18. I used to go to Bethany. Then I didn't move to, but I kind of sort of swapped between Bethany and Glenmachan Church of God. And then I tried out Dundonald for a while. I'm in my last year of school. I'm studying A-level music.
But you're definitely 18.
I'm definitely 18.
Definitely 18.
18 as of August.
Yep.
Yep.
Crucial. Very good. And you were saying there about the different churches that you were at. Did they have any sort of similarities or differences, or what was it like? If you sort of can compare them almost.
There's very little similarities between them. I'd say Bethany was very conservative in the way worship and praise was carried out, and then when I went to Glenmachan, it was more. What would the word be? I don't know. More forward.
Charismatic, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of like, singers up on the stage with a band and stuff behind them. It's a bit more, I was going to say upbeat, but not in a bad way, or not putting Bethany in a bad light, just saying it was more kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, sort of like putting your hands up and everyone was giving it stacks. Then Dundonald was crazy. Really, everyone got so into it.
Yeah.
It's like,
so it was like stepwise.
Yeah, it was like on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 was Dundonald. In fact, it was off the scale. Just it was an experience more than anything.
Did you find it like awkward or anything whenever you were doing that?
It was awkward to begin with, being an outsider and not being used to that kind of worship and the way they carried it out. But then after a while, you get used to it, and it's kind of like a concert where you're just so surrounded by the one thing that's all you can concentrate on.
It's interesting you say there about a concert, because from my point of view, if I'm playing in Bethany, I play drums in the band. I would never think of praise in church as a concert. We've maybe done it once or twice on special occasions, but in terms of a concert, we would never really have that sort of feel. But it's interesting you should say that. But I've got 5 questions for you here. I might sort of mix them together, but if we just look at the first question here, what do you consider to be praise slash worship in the church?
Praise and worship is it's like a necessary action for a Christian, I suppose. I suppose if you compared it to someone wanting to get fitter or something, or a bodybuilder, someone like that, and if they didn't go running, or if they didn't do exercise, or they didn't go to the gym, they wouldn't progress anywhere. Similarly, if a Christian doesn't praise or worship, they're not going to get the same experience and feeling they would if they do. So it's kind of a necessary action.
So you think it's necessary to sort of build.
It's completely voluntary, but in what way you do it, whether you do it or not, it's obviously not compulsory. You can do it if you want, but it's something that I suppose you should want to do.
Yeah, it's a major part of church life, though.
Yeah,
and it's interesting you're talking about.
You wouldn't. It would be strange to go to a church service and not singing this one song. It would just be.
It's interesting you should
unnerving.
say. My next question is, why do you do it, or why did you do it, or why do you think people do it? Why praise or why worship in a church?
For some people, it's definitely just out of habit.
Yeah.
Just because everyone knows you go to church and you sing.
Is that your experience?
I think it started off as that when I was younger, definitely. You would just go along with your parents and you're like, oh, I have to sing, okay, everyone else is singing, better do this. But then, as I kind of got older, I think you start to sort of find more in it, and you start to find certain songs or hymns that you particularly like
Yeah.
or have a certain effect on you,
Mhm.
and because of that, you then start to think, oh, actually, no, this is more than just singing, and that actually means something to you.
Yeah.
So I think, but of course, there is some, like, everyone has their favourites, and everyone has sort of songs and hymns that they're not really fond of. Maybe the more traditional ones for someone like me, for the younger generation, the more traditional church hymns can be a bit considered boring, I suppose. And in which case it is kind of just like, oh, we have to do this because we have to do this.
Do you think there is that sort of generation gap thing? If looking at someone like you, for example, sort of 18 years old, and they're coming into church new, and they're sort of wanting to hear something that's sort of at their level of where they're at in their lives, maybe something related to the music that they listen to, and at the other end of the spectrum you have someone that's maybe in their 70s or maybe even their 80s that have been going through church their whole life, and they still want the sort of traditional old sort of hymns. Is that sort of what you're saying?
I suppose
the idea that you have,
because sort of obviously now things would be a lot more progressive, and people would be more likely to try and change things. Obviously the older generation will have just come through traditional church, every Sunday being the same, and that's the only way they've known, so they don't want it to change. But I do think for people sort of my age, I think they can appreciate the older ways, but they do want something new to sort of almost keep their attention in a way, sort of, because they don't want to be singing the same thing every week, week after week, and get into a routine almost. They want to be different and exciting. I found, although I think there has to be a balance, where when I went to Dundonald Elim, it was very much about the experience, more so than what you're actually saying. So I think, like, I would go to 412 on Friday night, and there's maybe
what's 412?
It's Dundonald Elim's youth group. Sort of their youth club on a Friday night, and they would have a service in it, and there would literally be at least over 100 people, sort of age range 14 to maybe 20, every Friday night. And
that would include praise time, or would that be solely praise?
Or
a mixture of both?
I think there was like sermons and speakers came in, whatever, but I think with the Elim they're very focused on praise. Like, you'd be praising maybe for 40 minutes, and you wouldn't. It's not like normal church where you'd stand up, sing, sit down, stand up, sing, sit down. You stood up, and that was you singing for as long as they wanted you to sing. But I think that it was good. It's a really good experience, and it's a really good feeling. But I think there needs to be a balance struck between keeping it new.
There's the generation balance.
But also keeping it traditional in the way it should be, not just not losing the point of what you're doing, which I think can happen.
Can you see that? Can you see that in Bethany Church?
No,
there's not that sort of generation.
Or
can you see that sort of generation gap where they're sort of, if they're trying to bring in new songs or new ways of praising, but there's quite an elderly population in Bethany, so they sort of still want to hang on to this sort of old and traditional way.
Well,
could you see that?
I suppose that no matter what church really you go to, there will be a generation gap of sorts. But in Bethany, I think it's not as noticeable, because even though might be bringing in a new song and the older generation kind of don't want it, they won't straight up reject it. They'll give it a chance and see what it's like. And I think also the way the services are split, if there is some of the older generation who definitely don't want any of the new stuff, they want just traditional, they can go to the earlier service and have it the way they want it, and then when it comes to the family service later on, then it's kind of more sort of
Yeah.
bent towards the younger people, but still,
You have it's still
yeah,
rooted in
it's balanced.
yeah. There's that balance. You said earlier about whenever in a sort of more traditional sense you sing, you stand up and you sing and you sit down and then you're sitting for a while and then you stand up, you sing again. There's that sort of ritual to it. In terms of like yourself and enjoyment, I'm just reading off my questions here. This is the third question. Do you enjoy it, or do you do it out of habit or ritual? Do you think there's sort of elements of both? Or you were mentioning there whenever you were younger, you did it out of ritual, but you're now sort of at this sort of, I almost said middle age, but you're not you're sort
Midlife
of,
crisis.
yeah.
I think there is elements of both. Probably no matter what age you are, because obviously it's like any music, really. Everyone has their favourites and everyone has their sort of pet peeves almost.
Yeah.
Where you might be singing a certain praise song that you absolutely love, and because you love it so much, it's not, when you stand up to sing it, you are standing up because you want to sing it. You're like, yes, let's give this stacks. But then, give it rice. But then there may be some that you kind of, you're not, it's not that you don't like, you're just not too keen on them.
Yeah.
Sort of thinking, well, have to, everyone's singing this, so I have to stand up and sing. Don't want to not sing it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's probably, no matter what age you are, there would be elements of both. But I think sort of for me at least, from the age of maybe about 14 upwards, when I kind of started to think of church more. When I was younger, church was just something that happened on a Sunday. But I think once you get to a certain point, or even once you're surrounded by certain people, I think age can be a factor in it, but once you're in a certain environment, you start to sort of think about it more, and then
you're talking more of like peer pressure. Well, not peer pressure, but
peer pressure. But
it's far too strong a word. But you're influenced by the people around you.
Yes, definitely. Because I think when I was younger, I went to McQuiston Presbyterian. So I think I stopped going around the age of maybe 10 or so, in and around that. But everyone, sort of all the youth that were my age, were in the same boat as me, where we went on Sunday because our mums told us to go on a Sunday. We would much rather be at home playing PlayStation or something, but we were there because we had to be. So because everyone had that frame of mind, it was kind of like blind leading the blind. We weren't going to do anything, we weren't going to enjoy it because none of us wanted to be there. So we gave off that vibe to everyone. But then once I started going to Bethany, I found the youth my age were there because they wanted to be there. And once you're sort of surrounded by that, you look at it in a different light, and it gets you thinking more than just, I'm here, I have to be here, going home soon to get lunch. It's more, I'm here with my friends, everyone's having a good time. Why are they having a good time?
And do you think the praise was part of that?
Yes, definitely. The McQuiston was very traditional, where it was organ or piano for everything, and then once I came to Bethany and there's guitar, violin, drums, everything, it just kind of gave it a more modern feel, and it's something more relatable to, especially for some of my age. It was a lot more relatable.
Cool. Going on to the penultimate question here. How does praise / worship affect you personally? Whenever you were doing it, what sort of effect did it have on you? Think like a spiritual or emotional, or what was going through your head whenever you were praising, or did anything go through you at all?
I think like most music, it has an effect. No matter what it is, really. Some songs can make you happy, some songs can make you sad, whatever. Because that's just the way music works. I think praise is kind of the same, where there are some songs would really pump you up and make you feel so good, and then there'd be other songs that they would make you feel sad, but more solemn, kind of mellowed out, kind of think about life.
Thoughtful,
kind of, yeah.
thought provoking.
I think definitely. I'm not sure, maybe because it was praise or simply because it was music. It definitely had an emotional effect. Spiritually, I think it kind of almost goes hand in hand with it at times, where if there's a certain praise song that you really love and you're singing it and it makes you feel good, and you kind of think, why is this making me feel good? And then you think about the words and what you're singing, the meaning behind them, and then that can kind of boost your soul almost along with you.
Oh, wow.
So I think that emotional and spiritual go hand in hand almost. Especially if sort of spiritually you're feeling down at some point, and there might be a certain song that is very
uplifting.
Could work both ways, where there might be one that uplifts you, or there might be one that's sort of more mellow, and it could almost make you feel upset because it just makes you feel so emotional. So I think it definitely had an effect on me. I think there was times I went to Relentless Youth Camp, which was run by the Elams, and they had a service every morning and night, and the praise was very intense. Where I thought Dundonald Elam was intense, this was 7 or 8 Elams, all under one roof. It was very crazy. I think witnessing there was an extreme effect on emotions for people, because there's people crying from singing a song that the person next to them was just kind of standing, just dancing, enjoying themselves, and the next person would be crying, or next person would be jumping up and down, and I think it had such an effect on people that it got to the point, and after the first night, people were actually rushing to get to the front, because they wanted to be up there giving it all they had, because it had such an effect on them, while there was others who kind of wanted to sit at the back. Not because they didn't want to be there, but just because they wanted to experience it, but kind of sit back from it and watch. But it definitely would have an effect.
It's interesting you're talking there about the sort of the behaviour of people and being part of something. It's almost like at a concert. You're in the crowd. Would you say it had that sort of? Was it like a crowd? Because I'm sort of thinking
it's
leading into my next question here. But,
definitely.
My final question here. Do you feel like you're part of something bigger, or is the focus solely on yourself and the experiences that you have? I think in church, if you think more about if you think in Bethany, is it about you? Is it about your sort of experience between you and God, or your experience between you and the band or the music, or do you feel like you're part of something bigger?
I think
even within the church.
In Bethany, because of the nature of the praise and how it's not held back, but just everyone sort of, it's calm. It's not made into something it's not supposed to be. I think
do you consider it to be calm in light of the likes of the Elam, or is it calm just generally, or do you consider it to be calm in light
it's calm in light of the Elam, but then in light of other places it's very upbeat. But I think it's kind of like a nice mixture of having fun, but then also doing what needs to be done almost. I don't know. In terms of like
spirituality and
I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it's the only way I can think of it. But I think because of the nature of it,
Does it have elements of both? Like
Yeah, I think it almost depends. It almost depends on how you're feeling on the day.
mhm,
Where if you going in and you want it to be just about yourself and you and God and that relationship and no one else, then it can be, because there's no one standing beside you fist pumping, to distract you.
yeah,
But then at the same time, if you want it to be something more, if
if the spirit moves you,
yeah,
yeah,
if you want it to be like a church thing, not just you, then you can, because you can kind of look around, you can see everyone's singing and everyone's loving what they're doing.
yeah.
So I think it's elements of both, in that
Yeah.
it's just kind of
So
depends.
sort
It's
of like
dependent on the person almost.
yeah, it's like a state of mind, a predetermined state of mind.
Yeah.
You say,
Definitely.
but yes, I think we've come to a natural sort of end there. Daniel, thank you very much for your help, and
No worries at all.
good luck in school in the morning.
Thanks.
Good.